Sharpen all the edges that I hide, I'm a liar. See my body licking up the flames from the fire. They can never kill me, so they seal me even tighter. Who remains without 40 in the strength? I'm a fighter, 50 in the faith. Take me higher. I'm a rise up, but my demons like the tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. Blood moon, bright faint, light blue, my stains, night flame. Then we got into runes, yeah. Sun breath hit my wrist, blade fall like the mistake. As I go peak, yeah. Malacheth, turn a tarnish to a grace side, yeah. Kiss of death, but I miss the way it tastes like, yeah. Through the frenzy and the flame, I keep the honor beside me. This faith will abide me, we're burning the tree. Sharpen all the edges that I hide, I'm a liar. See my body licking up the flames from the fire. They can never kill me, so they seal me even tighter. Who remains without 40 in the strength? I'm a fighter, 50 in the faith. Take me higher. I'm a rise up, but my demons like the tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. War horse in the crypt. A nightmare, great sword on my hip. In my head. I'm a rise up, but my demons like the tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. Don't wish for walls to talk. They scream until I left the room. Blood writing on the walls tells me I'm born inside a tomb. I don't cower, I just power back. Water breathing got me feeling like I swallowed glass. Form 11, lose a weapon, you don't see it. If you spy it, never try it, they can deflect. Whip what I saw, but I'm grim when I don't see bad curse on the corpse. I'm a scourge, I'm the worst. Before the folly, I could bear this burden. 100 days ago, I found my purpose. Sharpen all the edges that I hide, I'm a liar. See my body licking up the flames from the fire. They can never kill me, so they seal me even tighter. Who remains without 40 in the strength? I'm a fighter, 50 in the faith. Take me higher. I'm a rise up, but my demons like the tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. War horse in the crypt. A nightmare, great sword on my hip. In my head. I'm a rise up, but my demons like the tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes.
And we are live. Hello to all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the Dual Dynasty review.
You had some stank on that, nerds out there.
Nerds. Oh my goodness. This is your weekly WWE review show here on the BC WrestlePod Twitch YouTube podcasting network conglomeration syndicate. There we go.
We're growing. It's bigger and bigger every time.
Oh, don't worry. In 2025, we're going to add extra adjectives just because we can.
Oh my God. Underground. Everything. Just add all the things to it. It'd be perfect.
Exactly. I am one of your hosts, Mikey, and joining me today is the lovely Professor. Hi, Professor.
Hi, everybody.
We need to make a soundbite of just like the "Hey Dr. Nick," but instead it's the professor. It's like, "Hi, professor."
Hi, professor. That'd be perfect. So many things to talk about, and we have to ignore all of Survivor Series.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. I mean, we will get to talk about all the Survivor Series things formally tomorrow during our review, but I feel like there's still a couple of things we could talk about both on Raw and SmackDown. Raw's about to get extra juicy.
I'll mention some of my opinions tonight, and I could send you a video for tomorrow because I got to go to rehearsal. But spoiler alert, I got hosed. I got destroyed. Me and half the internet just got rocked on our picks. We had no chance.
It definitely was a surprise when it came to some stuff. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, we'll talk about that.
And you and I talked about this. I had a bit of a contrarian feel. Like, I wonder if they just flip it and do everything we don't think. And I was like, nah, they don't do that sort of thing. And then they kind of did.
I was like, what is happening, you guys? This is wild.
But then we'll talk about this in a second. I don't mean to cut you off. I watched, for full transparency, I watched the Go Home show after watching Survivor Series. So I caught up with it last night and today. Fascinating. Like, to reverse engineer. Oh, maybe that's why. Oh, this thing. Oh, that's what they. So I kind of like it, but we'll get into that.
We have a lot to talk about too, but before we jump straight in, beginning with Monday Night Raw, some housekeeping stuff. If you haven't already, you can find us all over the social medias. We're pretty much anywhere and everywhere. We have a Facebook, a YouTube, a Twitch, a Twitter, an Instagram, a TikTok. We have a Patreon. Download the Next Level app and you can find all of our stuff neatly and nicely organized over there at VC WrestlePod. We have some fun merch. It is getting cold this season, so what perfect way to celebrate an early Christmas gift or holiday gift to yourself than to buy yourself a sweater, because it is sweater weather.
Is it a sweater or sweatshirt? Do we have a knit sweater thing going?
We have a crew neck sweatshirt, and we have some hoodies as well. So
nice.
So treat yourself to something nice this holiday season.
Perfect.
Alrighty. Let's do this. We're going to get this out of the way because I'm excited to talk about Monday Night Raw for one thing and one thing only specifically, which we'll get to. But we also have a couple of other things to get through. So Monday Night Raw took place on Monday, November 25th from Glendale, Arizona at the Desert Diamond Arena. So this was in Minnie's backyard, so to speak. And we kick off the show with our World Heavyweight Champion Gunther in the ring, kind of addressing his opponent Damian Priest at Survivor Series. Miss Jackie Redmond is in the ring asking Gunther a question. We get to a quick, recap video of what went down previously with Damian Priest, attacking Gunther after Gunther's surprise attack on Damian failed. And as Jackie begins to ask the question, Damian just comes out and interrupts. Spoiler alert, Gunther does not speak a single word this whole entire segment. So basically, it is Damian running him down verbally, talking about how he's going to win the championship. And then we get into a brawl in which Damian, by the end of it, ends up on top, so to speak. And that is how this segment ends. Gunther has not... This has been an interesting thing to watch. Gunther not really have any... chutzpah, I guess is the best way to put it.
You had mentioned this in the past. He's sort of tapered off speaking in general. And I don't know if that's because now he doesn't have sort of Imperium to march around. I don't know, because I'm not watching Raw, so I don't know if it's more of him dictating or not dictating or whatever. But he's gone full strong silent type, which is fine. Doesn't bother me. But it's hard to sell promos if you got a guy who's not gonna talk.
It's been a weird build having Gunther not be the... I don't want to say looking weak, because Gunther is an amazing wrestler. He's very strong. It's just been interesting that Damian has been pushed so hard, and then, what went down at Survivor Series went down. I'm like, okay, well, we could, hopefully now that we're past this, Gunther can figure it out, because I'm like, okay.
I don't know. I wonder if it could be direction, if it could be what you're not going to tell him what to do, which doesn't bother me either. I don't know. I remember Gunther having a few solid promos. This has been a while because I'm on the SmackDown side. I remember him doing some solid promos leading up to Rumble and then the McIntyre triple threat. Like there was some stuff in there at one time. We know he can do it on the mic. Somebody else was saying this too, like why they've sort of lessened his speaking ability. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And then, of course, this at this point before Survivor Series happened, this was the final angle between these two. And, we go on to our next Survivor Series kind of final angle, if you will, a little bit. But after we get a recap of, showing video of somebody laying out Jade Cargill and her amazingly just on the car dissect piecing, it was a lot of fun. Just like, it was great. We cut backstage with the remaining squad of our women's Survivor Series team on Team Bianca. So we have Bianca, Naomi, Io, and Rhea Ripley, who comes in later. Naomi and Bayley are talking. They're trying, Bianca's getting stressed out because she has the match later to get the, women's advantage in War Games. We're trying to figure out what's going on with Jade. Naomi reassures Bianca that we're going to figure out what's going to happen with Jade. But right now we need to figure out who is going to be replacing Jade in War Games. And so Naomi and Bianca begin to talk. Io comes in. They begin to talk. Naomi says, hey, you know what? I know you don't like her, but Bayley, I think, would be a good pick because she's already in the mix with everybody involved in this match. Bianca's like, hell no. Io's like, hell no. Rhea, everyone begins to fight. Rhea comes in. She tries to keep the peace. We get the shades of EST NXT Bianca when she argues with Rhea. I was like, yes, give me this a little bit more. I love this Bianca. But Rhea's like, I don't care who it is as long as everybody doesn't get in my way. And Bianca's like, well, good leadership, team captain. Way to go. I was just like, since you're the team lead and you want to give everybody the orders, how about you tell me who should be the fifth? But you know what? Even before we get into that, I got to carry the team on my back and get this advantage. And so Bianca proceeds to leave, and that is how we cut this backstage segment. The girls were fighting.
Such anger. I did not see this promo, but it sounds way better than the one we got on SmackDown, which we will talk about.
Oh, that one hurt, and we'll talk about that.
Just was painful. But this one was interesting because it had somewhere to go. Right? Who's the fifth? Who's the fifth? We had something to push against all the narrative stuff like that. So that sounds way more interesting than kind of where we went for the go-home show. But we'll get there.
We'll get there. So on Raw, we kick into our first match of the evening, which was a tornado tag team match. So this was the LWO, this time being represented by Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, taking on American Made, being represented by the Creed brothers and Brutus and Julius. This has been a weird feud. I thought, after our mixed tag team match that we had with Ray and Zelina versus Ivy and Chad, I thought we were done with this.
Apparently I just said last week, isn't this the one you said we were done with?
I thought we were done with, and apparently I was wrong. I will say this. I thought this was a fantastic tornado tag match. All four men were fantastic. I love it. But of course, surprisingly, American Made does pick up the victory. And at this moment, as Chad Gable and crew were celebrating the ring, I just said to myself, we're going to get this for the next couple of weeks, aren't we? Yep. I'm just going to resign myself. This is what we're probably going to get for the next couple of weeks. I'm like, no.
Well, yeah, they're kind of on tour right now. They have a bunch of shows. They got Saturday Night Main Events. They just need to put small feuds to get people to watch. I get it. It doesn't sound like the strongest direction, but they do this from time to time, right?
Yeah. So American Made picks up the victory. LWO won the last week. I want to say give me one more match and then we're done with this, but WWE is probably going to carry this for the rest of 2024, so I have to resign myself to do so.
Yeah, it's going to be here for a while.
It is. So after we get told that the clip of Paul Heyman returning and CM Punk being announced for Team Roman Reigns the past week, breaking social media records, Braun Breaker is going to be again in action later. We get told Cody Rhodes is going to be on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. But the next segment that we get does come from the Judgment Day Clubhouse. R-Truth just walks up and I guess is back with the crew for some reason. Like, what? I was just like, all right, listen, I'm not mad. R-Truth is a gem and he is a national treasure. He must be protected at all costs.
Yeah.
But it's essentially, this just sets up with Finn and JD defending their tag team championships later in the evening, while also getting everybody, geared up for, Survivor Series. So nothing new here. We get into our second match, Braun Breaker versus Ludwig Kaiser. For the match that we got, this was fantastic. And I already called it last week, is that Sheamus caused the DQ because he was upset because Ludwig did the same prior. All three men begin to brawl. The brawl continues to happen over commercial break. When we come back for commercial break, they're still fighting. Like, they brawled through a whole commercial break. Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce comes out. He's like, we are not going to do this tonight. If all I love that's the moniker we give him, and we're going to stick with it. Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce.
That was great.
So Adam Pearce comes out. He tells all three men, look, we're not going to have this show be halted because y'all have some vendettas against each other. So if you want to fight, I'm going to let you fight at Survivor Series for the Intercontinental Championship. It is going to be a triple threat. So we get Sheamus versus Braun versus Ludwig and a triple threat at Survivor Series. And at that point of the week, I was like, gimme. This match is gonna slap.
Yeah, which you kind of thought that you kind of thought that was gonna happen last week. There was an element of like, I think this could turn into a triple threat.
And it did.
And it did. And it was arguably one of the better matches of the night.
Spoiler alert, tune in tomorrow to figure all that out. So that's
what I mean by that later. Yeah.
Later tomorrow when we talk about it. All righty. So at this point of the show as well, Kathy Kelly interviews Jimmy, Jay, and Sammy. She's asking them about the return of Paul Heyman and CM Punk being added to the team. Sammy was shocked. The Usos are happy that they have a fifth member. Punk and Roman Reigns are going to have a sit down on Friday, which we'll talk about when we get there. And Jimmy says that the wise man is vouching for Punk. Now they just need, and at this point, this is where they announce that Jimmy says Jay just needs to win the War Games Advantage match happening on Smackdown on Friday against Jacob Fatu. And Jay says he's going to win. Spoiler alert, he does not.
He does not. And
but we'll talk about the match. That match slapped. All right, let's rip the Band-Aid off because this is the worst part of the show for me. This is the World Tag Team Championship match. The Judgment Day and Finn Balor and JD McDonough defending their titles against the War Raiders, which is Eric and Ivar. Finally, we get this match after what seems like they won that number one contendership over a month and a half ago. And we're finally getting to it. Yeah. And shenanigans abound. Judgment Day retains. And I'm like,
That's too bad. I wish better for the War Raiders, Viking Raiders, whatever they are thing. They're super talented and they're just kind of stuck in that tag team purgatory like a lot of other folks right now. It's unfortunate.
I'm upset due to the fact that since getting these titles, this is only the second title defense for JD and Finn in like 160 plus odd days.
Gosh, has it been that long?
Yes.
Wow.
They won those things from Miz and Truth. They've been holding on to them for this long, and they've only had 2 title defenses. So we need to figure out what we're doing with these.
Yeah, 4 or 5 months ago. Yeah, that's dumb. I don't know what that's about.
I don't know either. Triple H, y'all need to get on that for sure.
It feels like they just wanted it so they could have that one Instagram post of every single title within Judgment Day at one time, right? And then 2 weeks later, blow it up.
For reals. So after this match, we cut to commercial and come back. We see the New Day in gorilla position, dressed up in their finest DBZ-inspired ringwear, which I love so much. I love them so much in their Dragon Ball Z gear. It's so much fun. And so their music hits. They make their way down the entrance. We get a camera shot that Vanessa Hudgens, actress, is on Raw on ringside with her husband. So that's cool. And we get our next match, which is a tag team match, The New Day versus Alpha Academy, which is being represented by Otis and Akira Tozawa. This was a squash match, but not in the way that I thought. New Day gets squashed because of miscommunication. So they lose this match. They are continuing to lose. The fractures are there. The match itself was fine. Otis and Alpha Academy pick up a win here. I love this next part though, because the cameraman follows Kofi and Xavier arguing as they head back to stage through Gorilla to the backstage area. And we actually have something fun. So in order to avoid copyright, we can't watch the whole entire thing. In a perfect world, we can. But we're going to listen to this whole entire back and forth between Xavier and Kofi, and then we're going to discuss it. So this is going to be fun.
We can do that? We can do that without getting yanked? Really?
Well, I mean, visually, I think we're fine. So we're just going to listen to it. So
sit back and listen, folks.
Alrighty, so let us do this. So I'm going to play the audio, and then we will discuss it afterwards. This should be fun. All right, here we go.
Telling each other how thankful they were for each other until the bell rang.
We're caterpillaring early here.
Yuck. That moves back.
And the elbow.
Well, end of the match itself. Again, this match was like maybe a couple of minutes long, like 2 or 3 minutes.
Up top. Oh my God, off the top rope.
Feel the power.
Senton from up high.
This is funny because this is how my grandma used in Mexico. This is how my grandma, before she got TV, this is how she would listen to the Lucha Libre stuff.
Oh, really? Just straight radio?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice. That's very cool, though.
So, there we go.
You're wrestling like garbage. Are you gonna help me at some point?
I'm wrestling like if I was garbage, what were you? You saw me help you? Have I not done everything but help you? That's all I've ever done. Did I not give you my Intercontinental title shot a couple weeks ago for you? Matter of fact, when you were King of the Ring, I was on bended knee, fluttering your damn cape. I did that for you. And what did you do with those opportunities, by the way? You fumbled the title shot, and you fumbled the crown. There's a reason that E and I never let you call the shots, man. Because you're too reckless out there, man. You take too many unnecessary risks.
Unnecessary
Just like you
risk?
did out there.
Shut up and let me talk for a second. Unnecessary risk. I remember when you were too terrified to take any kind of risk, and that's exactly why you couldn't get a shot at the heavyweight championship until I came along. And I took those risks for you, Cope. I'm the reason you became champion.
You're the reason that I became champion. Nah, man. I was a Hall of Famer when you met me. That's why you asked me to be a part of this group, not the other way around. Don't you ever forget that. And you, of all people, shouldn't be talking about championships and titles, because last time I checked, you still haven't won a single championship by yourself, now have you? Wood, do you know why you have never been a world champion like me and like E? It's because you have not been good enough.
I was good enough to take your beatings for you, wasn't I? I was good enough to believe in you, wasn't I? Just like they believed in you. And what did we do with that belief? We turned it into Kofi Mania and we handed it to you. And what did you do with that, Kofi? You pissed it away on a silver platter in 6 seconds to Brock Lesnar.
I swear to God, if you were anybody
If I
else,
was what, Kofi? If I was somebody else, you'd finally get mad?
I'll see you at the reunion. Brother.
Yeah. See you at the anniversary.
Oh my God. Okay, so. Woo! When I tell you, Professor, this is probably my favorite thing from this past week's Raw. You're muted. You're muted.
I am. I just wrote down that this is now my promos of the year because it's incredible.
Hell yeah.
To go right after a match, one shot into the backstage, and then cut this thing. Heartfelt, genuine, dramatic style. So good. It's probably the top 3 that I've seen, but we can get into that another time. I love that they're using the history that they've always talked about in such a positive way and flipping it as a negative. Look at all the opportunities I've gotten versus look at all the things that I've done wrong because of you. Like, oh, geez. Heavy stuff.
So, oh my gosh.
I don't think we've I've ever seen angry Kofi Kingston. I've seen frustrated Kofi Kingston. I haven't seen vindictive heel Kofi Kingston.
Those digs at Xavier were crazy.
Ooh. Oh yeah. And what's great is that they're such good friends. They know each other really, really well. So they know the things that will hurt the other, and they just used all of them. And it's like, oh my gosh. So I mean, I'll ramble and ramble and ramble. What do you think? You've been following this way more because of Raw.
This is crazy to say this, but I feel that because we've been following this since, let's see, I want to say probably since Bad Blood and forward. So, or even a little bit more than that. Honestly, probably even a little after SummerSlam.
Sure.
We've been seeing this fracture between Kofi and Xavier kind of begin to widen a little bit, when they were going up against Final Testament. We had Odyssey Jones for like all of 2 weeks before that situation happened. And then Xavier and Kofi keep going, downward and downward. And I'm just like, okay, they're arguing. They're not on the same page. There's a lot of miscommunication. From a storytelling standpoint, this is what broke, this is the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. And I think, oh man, this has been probably my favorite thing that Monday Night Raw has done in terms of storylines that don't necessarily get built for the pay-per-view, which I'm okay with. I will say this though, because that 10-year anniversary special of the New Day is tomorrow night on Raw. I don't know if this is tomorrow is where the official split, but all I do know is it's going to hurt. I think Big E's making an appearance during this whole entire thing. I feel like he kind of has to in some capacity. Like this one's going to be hurt.
Big. It's going to be big. Hurt. They played it to a T. They're super smart and they're good at what they do. They've given it 10 years. They kind of knew this 10-year thing was coming. What's sad is there's elements of truth in what they're saying. Because New Day was so good, so positive, so long, they have kind of held their own individual things back, but they loved tag team stuff and they loved being a faction. So it's not like they were losing out on anything, but now you have that angle of you got to fight for this title, this thing, that thing, right? I still think Austin Creed, I don't know why they've never pulled the trigger on him. I know he has a lot of other interests. I know he hosts other shows. I know he's got a PhD in psychology. Like the dude's doing stuff, right? And I'm a huge fan of his.
But I think Kofi, let's give him a singles championship. That's the biggest thing I've said.
Anything.
Yeah.
How fascinating could it be knowing what we now know for Survivor Series? You throw him into that U.S. championship. You throw him into that Intercontinental championship. Like how different those look and could be. Braun Breaker, Austin Creed. LA Knight, Austin Creed to fight someone else someday. Like there's stuff in there that's like, oh, wow, look at those opportunities if you break them up that way. I don't know. I'm not Papa H. I'm not sure what they're going to do. This is just such a dynamite promo in so many ways that now you make me want to watch, right? Now you get me interested. You got Saturday Night Fever coming up. You got the Netflix starting in January. You could do a lot now, which you couldn't before. So I don't want to go fully down the rabbit hole. We got other stuff to talk about, but there's an element of McMahon in the sense that, oh, this is a good thing. We got a good thing going. Let's leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying New Day was too long. They just kind of kept them together and they kind of wanted to because they had the safety in numbers and a lot's changed in 10 years, which is great for them. So there's opportunities they wouldn't have had 10 years. But I just hope they're not. I mean, they're all in their late 30s. I hope they got time.
I hope so too.
And I hope they're in great shape and they take better care of themselves than they ever have in this industry. So fine. But man, I hope it's not too late to see some great runs out of the two of them because they deserve it. And I would love to see it.
Oh, absolutely. But some other things that I've been really enjoying that don't necessarily go towards the pay-per-view is after this, we cut backstage once again where we see the Final Testament. Miz comes to report to Carrie and be like, the Wyatt Six are in the building somewhere. Y'all should go look for them. I'm going to stay with Scarlett and we're going to hang back. And Karrion Kross is like, just not even saying anything, just puts his hand on Miz's shoulders. And Miz just like, all right, fine. And then goes with Karrion and the Authors of Pain to go look for the Wyatt Six. Scarlett is hanging backstage. this is another thing I love. It's just the small details that I love. So the camera's just panning as Scarlett goes to put on her makeup or like put on some lipstick, right? The camera just shifts a little bit to the right without fully exposing that they're there taking this shot. But as they pan over, we still see Scarlett like in the far corner, and then in the mirror, we see Sister Abigail, aka Nikki Cross, in her full regalia, just standing behind. Scarlett notices, she turns around in that very horror movie fashion, screams, and we cut to black, and we cut to commercial. We cut fade to black and then go to commercial. I'm like, nicely done, Raw.
Very well done. Very well done.
And then when we come back, we immediately jump into the action because Scarlett's just lying on the floor. And then Karrion comes over to say, Karrion comes over to see how Scarlett's doing. And like the fight or flight response, she begins fighting Miz and Karrion Cross back. They asked who did this to her. They said, she says that Nikki Cross did it. The Wyatt Six are here. They attacked her. And then as Karrion kind of consoles Scarlett, in the mirror written in red lipstick is everyone has someone to lose. I'm like, yes. I'm like, this, now we're getting somewhere. This is what I wanted to see. This is getting fun. And I feel like this could also be a really fun story to tell. Let's see. I don't know why they announced this before the taping, but we get a recap video of Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce in the middle of the ring announcing a Women's Intercontinental Championship. So I don't know why this was up in the air. Ooh, someone's at the door. So I'm excited for this Intercontinental Championship. I think this is going to be fantastic. I don't know. Again, I don't know why we did it in the middle, before the show and then aired it anyways. It is what it is. We get a couple of segments with the women talking about this Intercontinental Championship, including, Dakota Kai and Kyrie of Damage Control, all of Pure Fusion Collective, aka Team Scissor Kick, putting their names in the ring. This tournament is going to be happening over the next couple of weeks. We get a video of the Bloodline with Solo Sikoa saying that 5 days from now at Survivor Series, Roman Reigns is going to acknowledge him one way or another. And then we get into our main event for the Women's War Games Advantage match. We have, Bianca Belair taking on Nia Jax in a really fun match. Bayley comes to even the odds as Nia is about to obliterate Bianca, and Bayley gets involved and helps Bianca win by kind of pulling Nia Jax down because there's a exposed turnbuckle. Nia falls. She sells it beautifully. She falls face first into the turnbuckle, knocks herself out. Not really, but like beautifully sells it. Bianca stares at Bayley as Bayley is yelling at Bianca to pin her. Bianca doesn't say anything. She pins Nia for the 1, 2, 3. Bianca has won the advantage for her team in Survivor Series for the War Games match. And that is how Monday Night Raw goes off the air.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. So at this point, it's with Bayley helping. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Bayley's going to be in this match.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, that's what we know happened.
Now.
But yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And we got confirmation on SmackDown.
And it also, and a few other folks were talking about this. This makes me more suspicious of the Jade Cargill thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just in that, and we've talked about this too, how sometimes they'll do these backstage beatings or injury things like they've done to Jade, and they don't really have a direction.
Mm-hmm.
They just go, we're going to do this thing and make it a mystery. And it could be any 8 of you that did it. And when the time is right, we'll just pick one of you and then we'll run with it. This one, hearing all this on Raw, I did a little bit of reading on this. Hearing this on Raw and hearing how that shook down and hearing what's happened since kind of makes me go, okay, maybe there is a kind of a Bayley angle now, right? Like, okay, why would she this? Why would she that sort of stuff? So I'm intrigued. We'll see what happens. Unless we do the old Jade Cargill has amnesia, she doesn't know who she is thing, which would also be kind of amazing. We can go full soap opera.
I love that. Alrighty. Well, I am going to check to see what's at the door. So we're going to take a quick break really shortly. And then when we come back, we will be covering Smackdown and giving our final thoughts overall to this past week of WWE programming. So we will be back in a few minutes. But until then, make sure you grab your favorite drink, grab a snack, and relax because we shall be right back.
Yeah. Here we go. Sharpen all the edges that I hide, I'm a liar. See my body licking up the flames from the fire. They can never kill me, so they seal me even tighter. Who remains without 40 in the strength? I'm a fighter, 50 in the faith. Take me higher. I'm a rising, but my demons like the tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. Blood moon, white faint, light blue, my stains, night flame. Demigod, interrupts, yeah. Sun breath hit my wrist, blade fall like the mistake. Cares like a peak, yeah. Malachite, turn a tarnish to a gray side, yeah. Kiss of death, but I miss the way it tastes like, yeah. Through the frenzy and the flame, I keep the honor beside me. This faith will abide me, we're burning the tree. Sharpen all the edges that I hide, I'm a liar. See my body licking up the flames from the fire. They can never kill me, so they seal me even tighter. Who remains without 40 in the strength? I'm a fighter, 50 in the faith. Take me higher. I'm a rise up on my demons like a tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. War horse in the crypt. A nightmare, great sword on my hip. In my head. I'm a rise up on my demons like a tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. But don't wish for walls to talk. They scream until I left the room. Blood writing on the walls tells me I'm born inside a tomb. I don't cower, I just power back. Water breathing got me feeling like I swallowed glass. Form 11, lose a weapon, you don't see it. If you spy it, never try it, they can deflect. Weep when I sound, but I'm grim when I don't see that curse on the corpse. I'm a scourge, I'm the worst. Before the falling, I could bear this burden. 100 days ago, I found my purpose. Sharpen all the edges that I hide, I'm a liar. See my body licking up the flames from the fire. They can never kill me, so they seal me even tighter. Who remains without 40 in the strength? I'm a fighter, 50 in the faith. Take me higher. I'm a rise up on my demons like the tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. War horse in the crypt. A nightmare, great sword on my hip. In my head. I'm a rise up on my demons like the tide. Blood moon, you in my eyes. space like flame.
Yeah. Here we go.
Are we back? Wait, hang on.
Oh, I'm muted. Haha, just kidding.
Oh, you freaked me out.
Sorry.
I was like, what happened to my... Oh, God, I can't hear anything.
Be like, I have gone deaf. Not really.
It was trippy.
That definitely was. Alrighty. So we covered Raw. We did the thingy. Now we are going to be covering the Smacketh of Downs.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Professor. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off with this one. So we mentioned it in the Raw, where we had the backstage segment with Team Rhea trying to figure out who's going to be their fifth.
Right.
And we get this promo where the two teams are facing off. This was not great.
It was rough. I don't think they had any... There were 10 of them involved in this, and I don't think any of them had any idea what to say and how to say what to say. Rhea's always been pretty solid on the mic, but this is a different role for her for obvious reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of... she went full exposition, and so did Michael Cole, and that kind of killed this whole thing, right? When she's calling it, you have a problem with you, and you have a problem with you, and I'm going to do this to you thing. I thought Liv Morgan actually came out of this promo pretty good because
I was about to say
she stuck to who she was. She said what she said, and they were like, "Peace, bye," and they left. So kind of a tough way to start SmackDown. Not the strongest of promos. And then, of course, let's just turn it into a fight. So everybody fight everybody thing. Fine, not a big deal. I think it could have been a little more pointed and a little stronger, but.
This was definitely a rough one.
Yeah, not the strongest way to start.
Yeah, no, that was that was rough. I will say though, the internet of course does what the internet does best, and especially now, forever and a day, we also have Big Mama for Rhea Ripley thanks to Naomi. So shout out to the internet.
Yeah, that's fair.
This was not a great final promo between these 10 of them. Yeah, and I agree with you. Liv walked out of this like sounding the best, which is crazy to say.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, so brawl happens, everyone's just fighting. Cool. We go to commercial. When we come back, then we get into arguably one of my favorite matches of SmackDown for this episode. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Andrade.
Yeah.
Shinsuke's new entrance. So good.
Everybody's polarized about the new music and the new entrance and the new stuff. I like this Once Upon a Time in Mexico looking Shinsuke. This sort of bloody eyes and the hair and the thing. It's like, I kind of dig that. I agree that the push immediately coming back from his return is a little jarring. Like, whoa, he's right in the middle of all of this. He didn't work for anything. So I get it, but it gives something for Andrade to push up against, which is fantastic too. I thought this was a solid match. I had fun watching this. I had no problems with this.
I enjoy it too. I mean, Andrade is a really good person to put Shinsuke up against. They have history together on the independents and in Japan as well. Love to see it. But ultimately, after selling beautifully, once again, the top turnbuckle makes a reappearance in this match.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So Andrade goes face first into the top turnbuckle, sells that he got knocked out, is a little bit woozy on, so to speak, and Nakamura hits the Kinshasa for the win. We love to see that. Immediately after the match is over, however, LA Knight runs down to the ring, but then Nakamura just gets the better of him by spraying him in the face with the mist, which I love.
So it's a mistake. I started laughing immediately because LA Knight sold this like a little kid. He ran up to him, missed. And I was like, he missed you. He got your forehead.
my goodness.
not to be that guy that's pointing out mistakes, but he went for the mist, and you just see it. It's almost like spray paint. It just goes right on his face, and then LA Knight has to kind of move it around a little bit. I didn't hate this. I thought that's kind of funny. It led to the promo later on, which now makes a little more sense. Things they were saying for Survivor Series. I know I watched these out of order. I don't hate it. I think we needed to see. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to that promo. We'll talk. Well, in my opinion, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, that was interesting. But again, Shinsuke wins. LA Knight gets missed. You're right. LA Knight was screaming and yelling like a little 10-year-old. I was like, sir, I know it's the mist, but we overdid it just a tiny bit.
Well, you see, Io's taken the mist a few times, and Io's like, this hurts, as opposed to LA Knight was like, oh God, I'm dying. He did the full grown man with the cold thing, right? Like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm dying thing. It was kind of fun.
Tell my mom I love her.
Exactly. I can't go to work. When are you coming back? Never. Anyway.
Oh my goodness, I love it. So backstage, Nick Aldis tells the bloodline that everybody is barred from the advantage match, and later in the evening he tells the team OTC the same thing. So it's truly just a one-on-one. We go to commercial, we come back, Johnny and Tommaso are fighting. So I love this. So Tommaso and Johnny are backstage together, and Tommaso tells Johnny that he's talking about how they were screwed out of the titles and that they are not losers. Johnny says that, things have changed. Tommaso says nothing has changed. And Tommaso doesn't care about Johnny's relationships with Alex Shelley and like their mentor-mentee relationship. And then Tommaso lays out the ultimatum for Johnny. He has one more week. Either Johnny needs to figure out his crap or, not to stand in Tommaso's way when it comes to getting these tag teams championships. So it's either his way or the highway. So Johnny's, again, we say this as a term here on the WWE show, but Johnny is looking like a child's divorce stuck between Shelley and Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah, if this is a way to break up DIY, if this is a way to get Johnny Gargano working with Motor City Machine Guns, it feels a little forced. It feels a little too. I don't want to. It's so kayfabe argument to me. I think they could have done this a little better, right? Because they're like, hey, if we just talk this out, everything's gonna be fine. As opposed to you do this or I'm gonna. You're already not friends. You already don't like each other.
We've already established that the last 2 weeks with Tommaso pushing Johnny down 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and it's just because Johnny's a beautiful baby face, and it's perfect to see him get yelled at by Tommaso Ciampa, who's just angry. So I don't know. I can go back and forth on this one. I didn't hate it. I think they could have found a way to lift this a little more, but
I know. Anyways, so after this, we get a little vignette with Kevin Owens, which I love. He gives everyone the rundown of why he is right. And he actually has footage with dates dating back to 2021 and how he was attacked by Roman Reigns in the Bloodline. Cody was in the building, but nowhere to be found. He gives other examples of Cody being in the building, but didn't help Kevin Owens. And then he ends this little vignette saying that at Saturday night's main event, he will turn Cody Rhodes into the Canadian Dream instead of the American Nightmare because, Kevin Owens is Canadian. Ha ha, tee hee.
I see what you did there.
He actually had footage with dates. That popped me.
He brought all the receipts, which is great. But there's also, this is old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see what the most recent one would have been that they mentioned here. Again, this is more of that kayfabe, I'm angry at you, you're angry at me thing. Kevin Owens is doing it differently, granted, which is great and kind of refreshing to see, right? It's not what we typically get. But this is a little bit of, do we need this? I don't know. I don't mind the Kevin Owens Cody Rhodes feud. I don't dislike this. This does lead me to either we get heel turn Cody or Kevin Owens wins. That's what that's where my gut's going now, is either we see Cody go full snap and Kevin is the one that gets it, or we actually see a title drop on the Saturday main event thing, which is not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I love Cody Rhodes. I really, really do. But I'm kind of pulling for Kevin to end the year as champion because I think
Sure.
it gives Cody somewhere to go.
Yes, I agree. It gives them both, especially if you saw Survivor Series, you know what I'm talking about. When titles change, now we have more to do. Unless you're really holding on it for a specific reason and you have a lot of things going on around it, not too long, like Bloodline for 4 years, but you give them a reason to Seth Rollins was great at this. And there's a whole list of folks that it's like you're defending it, you're doing things. LA Knight has done a great job with that title and what he had, how long it was going on. Not to give everyone spoilers, but sometimes it's sort of okay. Well, let's do this to pivot to move you on. That's what that Saturday night main event's starting to feel like to me. I don't know, not to call my shot, but
It's like this should be interesting. Well, speaking of Cody and Kevin, because Cody's up next, because we get his match against Carmelo Hayes.
Kevin. Sorry.
I love it. This match was a lot of fun. This is the best thing I could say. This match was a lot of fun. Carmelo gets on the mic before the match starts, basically telling us, it's like, look, Cody Rhodes would be the type of person to stab you from the front instead of the back. I was like, you're not wrong.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
So of course, again, I thought this was a really fun match. There was never a doubt in my mind that Cody was not going to win this match.
Right.
This was fun.
I had no problem with this match. I thought it was fun. Carmelo Hayes, they were a little slow at the top. There was a little bit of hesitation. I'm not exactly sure what that was. Nothing dangerous or anything like that. He probably sells the Crossroads better than 90% of the folks out there. He's able to get that full headstand thing up and over, which I think he can do it. There's a few others that have done that with the Crossroads. And whenever that happens, it's like, that looks terrifying.
Oh my goodness.
But this was fun. This was a solid SmackDown match. Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Well, as soon as we said this last week, as soon as this match was made, I was like, yeah, there's no way Cody's not winning this one. Like,
yeah,
it makes it easy.
It's sort of, it's kind of, this is kind of an arbitrary thing. You pushed me, I'm angry. Yeah, I pushed you back, I'm angry. The Tommaso Ciampa thing is getting kind of arbitrary. The Kevin Owens thing isn't arbitrary, but sort of like, hey, this is a misunderstanding. Why don't you be an adult? No, you're going to be a child? Okay, fine. So we're going into the end of the year. I know we're running on fumes. We're just kind of grabbing Andrade Shinsuke. Like, yeah, I want to see that. I'm angry you cut in line. Okay, have a match, I guess. I wish there was a little more to hold these up, but not a big deal.
Agreed. So after this match again, this match was a lot of fun. Then we get into the pre-taped sit down with Roman and Punk with, Paul Heyman, the wise man, mediating this thing. Literally, I could sum it up as the following. Roman Reigns, I don't like you, CM Punk. CM Punk, I don't like you or trust you, Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman in the middle. Please, my children, get along. Roman Reigns, as long as you don't get my way, you're fine. CM Punk, fine, I'll help you. Looks at Paul Heyman. Just know that you're probably going to owe me by the end of this. End scene.
Yeah, it was a whole thing to get to the I need a favor. And what's hard is not so I could go full acting teacher on this one, especially compared to what Kofi and Austin did, right? Whereas Austin and Kofi are sort of making eye contact, they're breathing, they're doing all the actor things, they're on each other, they're taking it personal, they're pushing it back, they're doing all the stuff I would coach in my class. You're on partner, you're doing this, you're doing that. This was a very calculated, I'm a tough guy. Well, I'm a guy with an attitude. Well, I don't want to listen. And there's just these dips in energy in between the dialogue, which as an actor, for any of you who care, kills your momentum. Even you got to be on the other person and not check out. Roman just staring at the floor or staring at the table going, I don't like you. And then looking away kills it. CM Punk is actually there, like engaged, like I'm going to make eye contact. I'm going to stay in the scene. I'm going to stay on top of you. Roman just checks out during these promos with other people. And it's one thing to do it when it's the monologue. It's another one. There's someone at the table. This could have been so much more powerful. I think the mistake here was they should have leaned more on Paul Heyman instead of these two at the table, right? If they had gone more on this is Paul in between these two versus Paul bringing these two to the table, it could have worked out a little better. Because then we could have, if they had cut 30 seconds out of this and made this pop a little more, as opposed to the big and brooding. The same thing happened with Cody and Roman at the in Georgia Tech, the thing, right?
When they had that face off too.
Yeah.
So weird.
This big, long Cody's there, eye contact right on it. Roman's going, I'm going to look at you. Now I'm going to look at the ground because I can't look at you anymore. And it's like, no, don't check out. Stay on him, stay on him, stay on him.
Please do.
All of that aside, I am interested in this. I want to know where it goes. I'm interested in whatever this favor thing can be, especially knowing how Survivor Series shook out. I love having Paul Heyman in the middle of this. At least it's not in the back of an Olive Garden somewhere. Like, this was actually kind of a creepy alleyway with a table, and I'm okay with that.
I love that for sure. Oh my goodness. Alrighty, so after this, we get into our next match, which is another first round triple threat for the Women's United States Championship Tournament, where we have Michin versus Piper Niven, and replacing Jade Cargill is Miss Lash Legend, taking Jade's spot and representing NXT in this whole thing. This was decent. Of course, I'm happy that Lash is getting more screen time. Love her to death. I love seeing Piper in her own without Chelsea having to be out here in some capacity, but Michin picks up the victory here, so she is moving on to the semifinals, where she will either be facing, because we have this Friday, we have one more first round match, and she will either be facing Naomi, Tiffany Stratton, or Elektra Lopez in the semifinals on that side of the bracket. This was a fun women's match.
This was a lot of fun. I thought this was great. I kind of love the shenanigans on the outside. I kind of like how this bracket is shaking up. I think I said this 2 weeks ago when we first saw this. I was like, oh, you kind of know exactly who's going to do what. And granted, a little of it's been the formula. I'm really happy to see Michin in there. Like, yeah, give her more to do.
For real.
I think that the Jade Cargill quote unquote injury was a way to give people more screen time and sort of shift away from that, which I think is great as well. So this one, I'm very intrigued to see where we go.
I am too. Alrighty, so we mentioned it at top. We go to commercial break. We come back. LA Knight is getting medically checked on. His eyeballs checked on back here. And, Byron Saxton wants to get a word with LA. Basically, LA says that Shinsuke has a big problem and that LA Knight is going to drop Shinsuke on his head. Period. That's pretty much how we summed this up. It was just a long over explanation of, I'm just going to fight him. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I kind of started talking about this earlier. I think we needed to see what Michael Cole's been talking about, as in Shinsuke's in your head, Shinsuke's in his head, Shinsuke's in his head. And he mentioned it last week. He mentioned it during Smackdown here. He mentioned it during Survivor Series a bunch of times. I never got the feeling that Shinsuke was in LA Knight's head. LA Knight never had that sort of I'm paranoid or I'm freaking out or anything that showed me that. I did see I'm grabbing onto the title with both hands as hard as I can because I've struggled and I had this and this and this and this. But I wasn't seeing the big, strong dude break down a little. I needed to see you crumble just a little bit because then you, in my opinion, as actor director, this is just me. I'm a bald guy on the internet. This could just be, you could get a bigger payoff for what did happen at Survivor Series. If we see a little bit of this made man crack and we see you are fallible and you are barely holding it together instead of the whole shield the whole time, right? It's not a bad promo. I thought it was fine. I just wanted a little bit more. I'm going to say it. A little bit more of that vulnerability, a little bit more of that, what I've been through. And like, does that really affect you? Cody's really good at that. When Cody turns that on, Sami Zayn is amazing at that. Kevin Owens is working on it. Austin and Kofi, that's how that other promo they had worked. There's that tiny hint of vulnerability underneath. And I think that would have sold it for me.
Absolutely. So we get into our main event of the evening. This is a men's war game advantage match. And so this was also another fun one as well. And so this was a really fun one. Jacob Fatu versus Jay Uso. Everybody was barred from ringside. This was a good back and forth. Jacob Fatu picks up the victory.
This is fun. This is not on my list for greatest matches of the year, but it's definitely on my runner-up list. I had to create a runner-up section for like, these are still things that are fantastic. They were great together. They were fantastic together. Fatu was checking on him because there was some huge bumps in this one. I think the table was supposed to break and it didn't. And that was like, ooh, that looked like it hurt. Bam. There's some shots here too. Jay threw some of those those uppercuts and things. He spit in his hand and tagged him like, oh, you got him good. And of course, Fatu, the stuff that he does, he's doing stuff that Rey Mysterio does. And he's what, 6'2", 6'3"? Like he's massive.
Big dude.
He's an ogre doing this stuff. And it's like, how are you doing that?
It's wild.
The leg strength and physical acumen is just ridiculously impressive. So it's no doubt that he's over with everyone. He's no doubt that he gets the pop when he enters in, even though he's a heel. He's kind of the star in the making right now, which is obvious, right?
Right.
And when we, not to give it away because folks still may not have watched it or they're waiting for us reviewing it tomorrow, with the way that Survivor Series shook down, if things start to change, he's kind of the standout star.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested to see.
We are. And that's going to bring us to the end of this week's WWE review. Again, we're kind of holding back a little bit because we're going to talk a lot at length of what went down last night, tomorrow night, which will just be me and Minnie since Professor Hakan is leaving me. I'm just kidding.
I'm trying. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Adolfo is hoping that you can make it Tuesday, depending on how your schedule goes.
I have tech again, but I also got to find time to watch. I've had rehearsal or a thing every Dynamite, so I haven't been able to catch up. And by the time I catch up, I'm like, oh, I'm 3 weeks behind. I'm 4 weeks behind. Maybe I'll just say hi from rehearsal and just be like, I exist. Okay, thanks, bye.
I'll be back, I promise.
Yeah, I want to, because it seems like AEW, not to invoke another promotion, it seems like it kind of went down for about 3 months, and then the last month it's been really cool. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I think actually this would probably be a good week to just start fresh since we're past full gear. We're done with all of that. Now we're in the Continental Classic, getting ready for World's End at the end of the month. So that's fantastic. Speaking of the end of the month, let's take a look at what this week in BC WrestlePod land looks like for everybody. So we have a busy week this week. We've had, the holidays are over. We had time off. We had pretty much the majority of this past week off, and now it's back to business as usual. Tomorrow, we have our Survivor Series review with me and Minnie. Tuesday, we are covering this past week's AEW stuff. You get a double dosage of 2 reviews on Wednesday with NXT and CMLL. NXT is the go-home show before Deadline with their pay-per-view happening this upcoming weekend. On Thursday, me and Adolfo are indulging ourselves in the MLW Eric Bischoff one-shot special watch-along, so that's going to be fun. Friday, we have Ring of Honor and TNA, and then we'll be back again next Sunday to review more WWE programming as we are beginning to build to Saturday night's main event, which has me super excited, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
We do a lot here, man. Goodness gracious.
I'm glad I enjoyed the time off. We enjoyed our time off, and now we only have 3 weeks left before we are off for 2 weeks once again. So this is going to be fun, and I'm going to announce this here. Mark your calendars, everybody who is watching. Sunday, December 15th is the big end of the year 2024 podcast for BC WrestlePod, where we are going to go through the best and the worst of 2024 together. I'm trying to get as many folks on there as possible. I've sent out Google Forms. It's going to be great.
I should have paid attention to the worst. I don't know what my worsts are.
I also worded it as least favorite too. So if you don't have a worst, your least favorite.
I'll go back and look. I'll see what some other folks are saying, and I'll go back and see if I agree. I've been keeping track of the cool stuff, which is, different.
Right.
Right.
Alrighty, but me and Professor are going to get up on out of here. But thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Dual Dynasty. You can catch me and Minnie tomorrow for Survivor Series. But from us two, the Miniford, as I call him, and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family. Well, actually, it's Professor. Since he's not here, you're going to have to do our thing. So anyways, from both of us here and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you for an exciting week of reviews and shenanigans. But until there, sayonara, adios, and Professor, you are embodying this week. Remind the folks, why do we do what we do here at BC WrestlePod?
Because
Exactly. Well, we will catch you later. Ta-ta for now.